everyone, and welcome back to the community of We with Dr. B. For those of you that are just tuning in for the first time to my channel, I am Dr. Barclay, aka Dr. B. For the next couple of weeks, I am going to be discussing grief. As I stated last week on my channel, that there are about 7 stages of grief. There is shock and denial. There is shock and disbelief. That's the first one. Denial, anger, bargaining, guilt, depression, and last but not least, acceptance and hope. I think it's important with everything that's going on within our nation that we go over the different stages of grief. I think it's important that we discuss it in great detail so that you can understand what it is that you are feeling. For this week, I am going to be discussing denial. Now, denial is something really tricky because all of us fall prey to this. In the realm of denial, under the auspices of grief, we often get to a place that after we've already experienced the shock and the disbelief of the first stage of grief, that we get into a place where we want to shield our feelings because that pain is so great of losing a loved one. And we don't want to deal with it. We don't know how to deal with it. So how many of you all have experienced someone saying, how are you? Oh, I'm okay. I'm doing okay. I'm good. I'm doing well. But the reality of it is that you know that they're not. That is in the realm of denial. That's a small example of it, because what's happening is that they're making a choice to get to a place of not really dealing with what they feel, not dealing with that hurt, not dealing with that pain that is so great that they rather push it to the side and just move on through life or move on in that moment because they don't know how to deal with it. And so in dealing in that phase of denial, it also could be where they don't have the words to put to what they're feeling. That's also in that realm of denial. And so when you experience a person that have gone through or is going through grief, and a lot of individuals are going through grief right now, that you get with them, you be present with them. You don't try to push on what you feel or how they should feel or what they should do or how they should do it or what they should say or how they should say it. Just be present with them and just allow them to just work through, or what I like to say, process that feeling of denial. Ladies and gentlemen, in this realm of grief, again, with our whole world going through it, with our first responders of what I addressed last week, with our medical professionals, psychological professionals, human services, social workers, all of us, even those that do not wear those hats in the front line, every one of us deal with grief in some shape, in some form, and in some fashion. And with everything that's going in our world right now, grief is prevalent. Grief is occurring. Grief is happening every second, every day. When you look on social media, it's replete with grief. And so it is so important that in those moments when individuals are dealing with grief, especially in the phase of denial, that you don't push them to experience or be present with their feelings. For an example, in the phase of denial, you ask them, how's everything going? I heard, I'm so sorry for your loss. My prayers are with you. And they say, oh, I'm okay. I'm doing well. And then you say to them, are you sure about that? I mean, that was a really close relative. That's a really close family member. Stop, pause, wait. Wrong response. When they come with their responses to you, oh, I'm good, I'm okay, I'm doing well, what you do is that you say, okay, that's really good. I'm really glad to know that you're working through how you're feeling. I'm really glad, because I'm not handling this well, because I really care for them, and I know that your relationship was different than mine was, and I just want you to know that I'm here for you. If ever you want to talk, or you just want me to sit in silence with you, or you just, I don't know, you want a shoulder to cry on, I just want you to know that I'm here for you. And you leave that space You leave that place for them to make a decision to share with you or not. Don't push them to a place to where you feel that they need to be, because that's selfish on your part. Allow them to work through that phase of denial. Because eventually, if you push and push and push and push them, you're going to push them into a phase, which I'm going to discuss next week, is the anger phase. And so you want them in that phase of denial that you acknowledge where they tell you they are. You acknowledge what they tell you, what they've told you, how they feel. And you be present with them. You be present with them. And it's like we sometimes this is not 100% as human beings. We want to do and make and change and make things better. We want to hurry up and push them past where they are. But let them feel that. That is a part of the healing process. No one has a science on when you should be finished grieving, how long you should grieve, what you need to do in the process. It is an individualized process. Please understand that, especially with everyone going through some form of grief, especially in our world today. Help them to be present. Be with them in that moment. In that moment of denial, they will eventually work through it. And when they work through that denial, when they get to a point where they understand, you know what, I'm really not good. When they understand, you know what, I am really not handling this well. I thought that I could be okay. I thought that I could push past this, but I can't because I miss them so much. You be right there in the trenches with them. It's okay to be there with them. Grieve with them. Mourn with them. That's what the Bible says, for us to mourn with those that mourn and rejoice with those that rejoice. So it is so important that we get that, and we don't just get it, but we do it. It will help. I am so telling you, it will help in that healing process, because again, it is an individualized process. Please take it from me. It is, I cannot say it and stress it enough. It is an individualized process. And in that space of denial, under the realm of grief, is so vital. It is so crucial that we don't push our stuff on other people. And what I mean by that is that we get to understand them in that process. We help them to be where they are, and that is, you be there with them. Because they are probably expecting you to fix it. They're probably expecting you to give them some advice on how they're going to get past this. And, it's weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Can you believe someone actually said that to someone that was grieving? Seriously? We know that joy is going to come, but right now in this moment, I am hurting. My heart is bleeding. And they gave this blank stare, and I was sitting there like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Did you really just say this to this person, that their heart is just hanging on a thread because they just lost a very close, dear loved one? And immediately, right in that moment, when I saw the look on the grieving person's face, I immediately moved into that space and said, you know what? Although we know what the Bible says, and I know you understand what the Bible says, I'm sure right in this moment you're trying to figure out where you are. You're trying to figure out whether you are in shock that what has just happened, whether you are trying to bring some realization to it. Are you not even believing that this is really true? And are you really at the place where, you're trying to fish for some peace? You're trying to fish for, God, I need your peace. I need your peace. And yes, God will give you peace in that moment. And we all know that he will give you peace that passes all understanding, especially when our hearts are ringing out with so much grief. We know that we get it, and he's done it, and he will continue to do it. And so it's so important that I told them, I said, I want you to get that it's okay where you are, wherever that place is. I'm here for you. We're here for you. And we're not going to let you know how to feel, when you need to feel it, how you need to feel it. We're going to be right here with you, and we're going to walk this journey with you. And in that moment, the tears began to flood, and it was just an out of control, just a wailing and just pouring out of the soul of the pain that they were in, because I got out of the way and made it to make it be about them, because that's what it was about in that moment. So as I come to a close, I want you all to understand this grieving process is real, and that's why I'm taking my time each week to go through the grieving processes. Again, the 7 stages are shock or disbelief, and what I discussed today was denial, anger, bargaining, guilt, depression, and finally acceptance and hope. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me with the community of we, and I hope to see you next week when I go into talking about anger. I see you soon. Community, remember to be well, in peace, and stay healthy. And also remember, unto him who is able to keep us from falling. I'll see you next week.